Let's take just a few minutes here. Flathead Lake, Montana. This is so gorgeous. I'm gonna get down here close to the shore if possible. It's cool here. You wouldn't know that by necessarily watching, unless you took an educated guess. November in Montana. It's cool but not cold. It's sunny. It's beautiful. I feel chilly. I could put a sweatshirt on, but sometimes it's good to feel something other than that carefully controlled temperature that you're used to. You know, your body can handle temperatures outside of this like 5-degree range that we create for ourselves all the time. And once you get past that feeling that it's different, that it's, you know, my skin's telling me that it's cold, it kind of feels good. You know, you're safe. It's sunny. My van's like 50 feet away. I'm not in danger right now. It's good to just let yourself feel, I think. Feel the cold on your skin every once in a while. It's a mechanism, right? It's built in. It's something that's built in to tell us this could be dangerous. Because in a different situation, in a different circumstance, it could be dangerous. But that's where you use your brain to tell yourself whether it's dangerous or not. Say, okay, I feel this signal. It's telling me something. Am I in danger or not? And if you are, you fix it. And if you're not, you don't need to fix it. You don't need to put a sweatshirt on. That's my take on it anyways. You know, we have these mechanisms built in, like pain, the sensation of cold, even the fear of heights. They're built in because those things could be dangerous. It gives us a signal, something to pay attention to, something to notice, and ask ourselves if there's something we actually need to address. But those mechanisms don't need to control us, because if we know their purpose, we can let them do their purpose and then make a conscious decision. That's why we're humans. We, in comparison to other animals, have a little bit more ability to make conscious, thoughtful decisions. And not only go on instincts. The instincts are good. They're there. You should notice them. You should pay attention to them. Sometimes you should do what your instincts tell you to do, even though you don't know consciously why. Sometimes after you do it, you'll notice why afterwards. Or you might use your reason to come to the conclusion that, oh, in that circumstance, I didn't need to follow my instinct. My instinct, you know, is thousands of years old. And the world's different today than when that instinct developed. I think it's really good for those instincts and for ourselves and for people to get out, feel the wind, walk on logs. This is one of my biggest pet peeves. I've worked at multiple camps. Kids come to camp. Our stated goal is to get them into nature and allow them to have a fun time outside, have a good experience outside, so they keep wanting to spend more time outside, more time away from their phones and other electronics, stuff like that. And then, particularly at the camp I work at now, which is a great place. They do so many things right to make sure that kids are safe, have a good experience. It's a really well-run, well-managed camp, but one of the things that comes along with that I don't entirely disagree with is how we tell kids not to do what I'm doing, stand on logs. And then half the time, our instructors are standing on logs because you know what's the natural, normal thing that you want to do when you see a log? You stand on it. We need to balance safety and legitimate concerns about safety with embracing and celebrating the things that come naturally to us when we're outdoors. And standing on logs is one of those relatively low-risk activities where you can just make the difference between whether a child or even an adult feels micromanaged or put up to the task of micromanaging, or feels free to have fun in the outdoors the way that, you know, people have for thousands of years. And the way that we're blessed to be able to even more now, because we have more control over our environment. We have a safe place not far away. We know where the shelter is. It's like well established and heated and everything else, so we can really get out and enjoy this stuff with a very low risk. And if someone does fall off a log and get hurt, I mean, let's be honest, you could fall off a log and like somehow land the absolute wrong way and be paralyzed. Let's not pretend that terrible things can't ever happen, but you have to decide, how much of my life am I going to give up in order to minimize the risk of terrible things happening. One thing I've noticed about kids is that they're pretty aware of their limitations. You know, that natural fear does kick in. And a kid who's afraid to stand on a log probably shouldn't stand on a log. And they're afraid of it for a reason. And, you know, maybe they're not very coordinated because they've never stood on a log before, which is another reason that we need to. So we can develop that basic coordination. But hey, they don't feel all that confident in themselves. Okay, that's a good indication they probably shouldn't stand on that log, and I'm not going to force them. And I could tell them, like, you get up on that log right now. You enjoy nature the way I think you should. Not at all. And a kid who feels confident standing on a log can probably stand on that log. And every once in a while, someone's going to hit the edge of their boundaries and fall and maybe get hurt, and probably we're going to be able to put a band-aid on it or have them sit and rest for a little bit and be perfectly fine. I'm not saying that, you know, nothing bad could ever happen, but you have to decide, you know, again, how much of my life am I going to give up? How much of my potential as a whole human being that still has, you know, we're still physical beings, and that's a valid, important part of our whole identity. How much of that am I going to give up to try to make myself completely safe, and then still, you know, be exposed to risks that I can't control every single time I get in a vehicle, every single time I do a whole bunch of other things where I'm much more likely to get seriously injured than just by standing on a log. So yes, we need to manage those risks and not be like, yeah, go ahead and climb that 80-foot tree. You know, that's not something that if I'm not that child's parent, no way I'm letting them do that. But climb 5 feet up in that little tiny apple tree, I don't necessarily feel like I need to say no to that. And, you know, I think, you know, obviously if you present an experience, going back to this camp situation, you present an experience a certain way and parents have certain expectations of what their kids will and won't be allowed or encouraged to do, you got to kind of stick with it. So, you know, if we tell parents your kids won't climb trees at all, then we kind of need to not let kids climb trees at all. But I think those expectations could be adapted a little bit. My life goal, one of my life goals, is to have a camp where we just say up front, hey, first of all, parents, come to camp, please. Oh, that's so cool. Whole fire truck on that semi. I don't know if you saw it. Anyways, parents, come to camp, please, because the best people to look after your kids are you. But also, your kids can stand on logs if they want. They can climb 10 feet in a tree if they want. And anyways, thanks for watching. This was this little short adventure at Flathead Lake in Montana. Feels good to get out and just enjoy the cool air for a minute. Thanks again for watching, subscribing, liking, whatever you decide to do, and catch you on a later adventure.